Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Lil Yaqibati Mustaqim. Allah fi kulli umri yasta'in. Allah fi kulli umri amjid. Inhu Rabbi Ghafur Rahim. Wa Muhammadan huwa Sayyidina wa Makbubana. Wa innahu kana rasulan nabiyyan. Salawatu Rabbi taslimatihi alayhi. Wa ikwanuhu min anbiya wa mursalin. Salawatu Allah ta'ala wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'in. Salamu alaykum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu lil ikwani wa ukhwati fi din wa salamu ala taba huda lil ikwati wa ukhwati fi Amerika wa Afrika wa Europa kulli makan. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Innani ate lahu amtanani wa shukri. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters who will show up in the future and those who are present now for this continued series on Tawheed, but an important part of the Tawheed, which is the nullifiers of the 10 nullifiers of your Islam and your Tawheed. If you believe in Tawheed, you practice one of these, or you have committed these, or you're doing it, this will nullify your Islam. This is the consensus of the Muslim scholars. This is not something from one Sheikh Islam or another. They all have agreed. The four madhabs, our four great madhabs, our doctrines, all agree to this. This is a serious matter. And it's been underplayed because, as you heard me talk many weeks, that modern Muslims have hijacked religion to throw away nullifiers of Islam, so that way you can practice just about anything you want. And so I'm bringing this up. You can find the Nواقض of Islam Ashra, which is the 10 nullifiers, I just said in Arabic, the 10 nullifiers in the Aqeedah and your Islam. And you can find it in Arabic, as I said, but it's very hard to find it in the English language. So I'm fortunate, and I give thanks to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that he's given me this opportunity to talk to my brothers and sisters in America or Europe, Kulli Makan, everywhere. And I want to talk about the third one today because I covered the first two. And you remember when we talked about the 10 nullifiers, I named them off. I gave 10 of them. And I talked briefly about some. I said asterisks and others. This is the first asterisk. I told you put a star by it. It's 3. This one is what the modern Muslims are guilty of today. And they try to hide and try to justify this particular naqad, and they try to justify it. And when you bring this up to them and you tell them every Sheikh Islam, every madhab have said this is kufr, this is shirk, this is ridda and deen, this is apostasy. The modern Muslim he said, look, I'm not living in the 7th century, or I live in Los Angeles, so I don't need to follow the Sharia, or I live in Paris, France, and we don't have such a thing. Or there's a whole bunch of a slew of things that they will say to get around this. And they go ahead and they practice their, as far as I'm concerned, their filth, their kufr, by telling the Muslims, especially the young Muslims, our young brothers and sisters who are young and may not have the education, and they see these people doing what they're doing, and it's confusing. So today I'm going to cover number 3. It is a serious nullifier of your Islam. And as you saw the title, it's Basically, I will read it in English because we don't have Arabic speakers. Whoever does not declare the polytheists to be infidels or doubts their unbelief, their madhab to be correct, this person is a disbeliever. Hear me correctly. We got proofs on this. Here it is again. Whoever does not declare the polytheists to be infidels or doubts their unbelief, their madhab, their doctrines, Catholic, Protestant, or whatever the denomination, Hindu, Sikhism, Shintoism, Taoism, any the Obia, the African traditional religions, Obia, Orissa, all of those, voodoo. This person is no longer a Muslim. He's out. He's a kafir. This is by consensus. Your Islam is gone. As you heard me mention a couple of weeks ago, I've been harping by one Muslim who I've been on for weeks because I'm tired of seeing him on YouTube making apostasies. One after another, one after another, one after another. I've talked to the brother. I've told him to stop it. I told him what he's doing is wrong, but he doesn't care. He made the last one approximately 3 weeks ago when he declared that he would not do what the Prophet ﷺ has ordered about the makram. Makram, what is that? You say, yeah, what is that? This is the ruling that is given by subhanahu wa ta'ala and by our Prophet ﷺ. It's in the Sharia and the Sunnah. It talks about to be honest, the protection of our sisters, where me as a married man, I cannot go about with women. They're not my wife. I'm not talking about my cousins, or I'm not talking about my sister or my mother or aunties. We're not talking about them. That's the family unit. We're talking about those who are not in the family. Okay, like friends, neighbors, co-workers, and so forth and so on. And this individual basically declared openly, I still have the tape, that he would not follow this because it's too conservative. This is the type of thing here that they cast you out of Islam. So let's look at this. First thing someone wants to say, well, Yahya, I hear what you're saying. I don't understand why the Muslims can't practice something in modern times. They don't have to look back at the 7th century. Well, we have rules and laws, and we have to abide by those laws. We don't ask why or what is the reason why this law came down. We are ordered to follow it, bottom line. And let's look at the history on why subhanahu wa ta'ala is hard about this and why our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is hard about this. In the early history, we talk about history period. We look at even the prophets of old. We see that we've had Tawheed, and we had something that happened, events that happened before our prophet came, before he had his prophethood. One, we know that the Hindus and their Vedas, there's their sacred books. In there, we've had our esteemed scholar brother, Zakir Naik. Many probably know who he is. He at Peace TV, but now he's residing in Malaysia, who translated the books. He talked about this in length, where in the book, it describes our prophet, his father, and they said that the Hindus must follow this new prophet. Did they do it? No, they didn't. They continue to add gods, 1,000. I forgot how many gods they have that they worship. I can't recall how many. They worship the cattle and so forth and so on, and they do these rituals in water and so forth. And that their religion was abrogated even by the Vedas. They said when he came, then you must follow him. They did not do it. That's the first one. Let's look at the Christians. The Christians in the New Testament, they talked about Ahmed, which is the same as Muhammad. And he talked about him and the scholars, the real scholars, the Christian scholars, like from the Aryans and so forth and so on, said they had to follow the new prophet that would come, which was Ahmed, Muhammad. Okay? They did not do it. The Jews knew of the prophethood because of their esteemed scholars. Were given rohis, and they were given leads to know that a new prophet was on his way. but he would not be among them. He would be among the Arabs. They spread this information. And when it came down, they knew it was Prophet Muhammad. They came to him and they asked him a series of questions only a prophet would know, because he would have to get these answers from Subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you or me cannot answer these questions. The prophet, they gave prophet time, because they just came to him and said, hey, look, I need this answer on this. If you're a prophet, you'll give me this. So he beseeched Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the answer. He walked over to the Jewish scribes, the scholars, and said, this is the answer. They knew he was a prophet. They declared he should be followed. Majority of the Jews refused to follow him. Many did. Now, here's the last part of this. As our prophet was a young boy, those who heard me speak about the prophet, ﷺ, about his history, it's a beautiful history. When he was a boy to early manhood, how he was. He was a wonderful human being. He was the best that Subhanahu wa ta'ala could create. And the scribe, a famous scholar of the Aryans, and the Aryans, you got to remember something, they practiced Tawheed and they practiced Christianity correctly. The Prophet ﷺ was coming. He was a young boy at this time, the only young boy allowed to go on the caravans, which they take the caravans, because at that time, you got to remember something, the Arabian Peninsula, what they called Jazir Arab, was rough. It was full of bandits, thugs, cutthroats. I mean, it was a rough ride. And so they didn't like to have children and women with them, because, you know, they can get slayed and so forth and so on and ravished. So he went. The scribe talked about the prophet, said he was on his way. When he looked up into the sky, he saw a dark cloud going at a relatively speed. He knew he was coming. He had sent his helpers, hey, fetch them, okay, the Quraysh to come. And so to make the story short, in the book of Yahya, John the Baptist, funny how this Bible has left this stuff out. In the Bible, John the Baptist, okay, Rahmatullahi alayhi, Salatu salam alayhim, he talked about the prophet, and he said that you would know the prophet by a mark that was on his shoulder. He examined the prophet and found this mark, and he knew he was the new prophet, and he followed him before he died. This is the story of this. Why I say this? Because the Jews and Christians, Hindus were told to follow our prophet. They did not do it. And there's evidence to show that they didn't do it. Subhanahu wa ta'ala was very angry with them. Not only did they not follow the prophet, they perverted their books. This is why the Muslims get in trouble. When they go to follow, they go to hang around, they go to justify their relationships, their unwholesome relationships with Hindus, with Christians and others. Now, again, let's go back to something. You said, yeah, you're talking tough here. You're talking racism and prejudices. No, I'm not talking about that. Because if you heard me in my other classes, I gave you the definition of the 4 disbelievers. I told you 3, we are to treat them with respect. Remember that. I treat them with respect. The 4th one, who fights the Muslims, is who we go against. I gave you the other example to show the benevolence of our Lord Subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah 60, verse 8, where Subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the disbelievers who treat you kindly, Hindus, Jews, Christians, Shinto, whoever this person is, if you have a relationship with him, he doesn't fight you for your faith, you can treat him kindly. There's no harm in that. So now you understand the backdrop, why you have to understand the Quran, why you should understand the Arabic, the Quranic Arabic, so you can read the hadiths in its original text. But those are the conditions. And so we are told that we are to have careful relationships with disbelievers. This is important. We must have careful relationships. Now, let's look at this. The 4 madhabs, as I told you before, are in concurrence to the Nواقض of Islam, in concurrence fully in it. And I'll give you some things here that why the Muslim, why he should be very careful about his relationships. One is, and under Tawheed, we have something we call wajib uliya. That means we follow the first generations. We follow the Sahaba, the first favorite generations, and the generations after that, and then our scholars. Is wajib, meaning is obligatory. You must do it. And secondly, wajib itabaha, meaning you have to follow the ways of the Prophet, his Sharia and Sunnah. This is part of Tawheed. If you do not do this, you're out. This is why our brother who got on TV, who's making blasphemous and apostasy statements on YouTube, he said he will not follow the Makram rule. It's too conservative. He will not follow it. This is the thing, you have to follow it. He's out. Third, there's no other governance under Islam. You must have your advances to only one governance. Is Tawheed Hakimiyya, which is oneness of governance. This is what this actually means in Arabic. And you must abide by this and use this in order for you to declare yourself to be a mu'min, which is a devout Muslim, which subhanahu wa ta'ala declares inside the Quran continuously. When you see in the Quran in Arabic, oh, yuhaldina amanu. Amanu means mu'min, plural, many. He doesn't say muslimun, he says mu'minun. See, he makes a distinction in that, because the Muslim means he is submitted. The mu'min means he devoutly believes. It's a difference. So the true believers use only the Tawheed Hakimiyya, which is what? The Sharia. And he does not adapt to any other. I don't care if it's communist ways and means. I don't care if it's American government ways and means and their so-called democracy. All of that is called Taghut, evil, because it's coming from their hearts. It's not coming from any of the prophets. It's not coming from subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot follow it. You must stay away from it. And the other is the Muslim who, again, who adopts these other democratic communist ways and means, and he tries to legitimize this. Now, there's many scholars who have said this is pure kufr, and there's some that says no, it's minor kufr, and so this is in dispute. But the original text basically says that the person is a disbeliever. Now, let's go back to the text at hand here. I give you some little bit of details. It says, who does not declare the polytheists to be infidels. Now, we have brothers, even on YouTube, they're Muslims. 99% of their shows, 99% of what they do is with who? Disbelievers. Very few believers. They're at war with the believers. But those who are not disbelievers, they with them. I'm talking about women, men, and so forth. They do not. They are away from the strong Muslims. They only bring hypocrites who are like them on TV with them, and you see right through it. And now you have ammunition to understand why Yahya talks like this about them, why I talk against them. Because, my dear brothers and sisters, we as Muslims must abide by our law. I do not like it to see when African Americans or Africans born in America mislead our brothers and sisters there, because we've already have enough pain and suffering from being discriminated against, being killed and robbed. And we're always the last hired and first fired. And then we have our own people to mislead us in our religion. I can't stand that. So I have the ammunition to fight them. And as I told the guy, this one, I said, look, if you want to go on Pan-Africanism, I don't care. I'm not going to fight you there. You want to do that? But you get on YouTube and you begin to declare apostasy and trying to make something that's haram, meaning it's forbidden in Islam, to make it legitimate. I said, I'm going to fight you. I told him that. He didn't care. He just continued on until that last apostasy statement. I wish I could have got him and brought him and said, brother, let's sit down here. Do you know what you just said? But I didn't have that opportunity. I don't want to talk to him. I led him to his disbelief because he just made apostasy. He came back after that because he heard what I said here. Then he went and made another show, a little small show, talking about he was a Muslim. And he showed that he was in hash. That don't mean anything because there's the munafiqeen, the hypocrites go to hash a lot. And they go there to spy. That don't mean anything. It's your actions that makes it. If he comes back and says, you know what, I made a mistake when I said this. I was upset. If he did that, that's one thing. He didn't do it. He was defiant. This is what we're talking about here. Now, if any of us were asked a question and somebody say, you know, you have good friends over here, and I know them to be Catholics, and I hesitate to declare them kuffar, I'm out. This is how serious it is. We're out as Muslims. You cannot even hesitate to declare. Now, let's go back to this. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother Isaac. Here's what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about we walk down the street as Muslims and we see clearly people who are not Muslims. We start going after them. Hey, you kafir. No, that's not what I'm talking about, my dear brothers and sisters. What we're talking about is that we have, like is in the Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, we have to have campfires in between the Muslims and the disbelievers. We have a healthy relationship, meaning we have a distance from them. Yes, we treat them kindly. Those who are in the three categories, not the fourth, who fights the Muslims, you have no relationship with them. You cannot. But the first three of the disbelievers, you can. I don't care if they're Hindus or Sikhs or whatever the religion. They are to be treated kindly and respectfully. And so what I'm getting at here, my brothers and sisters, is that we have to be careful in these relationships with our friends who are disbelievers. Declaring meaning, I know, yes, I have people I grew up with. Some are Catholic, Protestant, some don't even believe. I love them because I've been knowing them since I was 5 years old. I love them deeply. But they never fight me for my faith. And when I see them, I talk to them. I have relationships with them. We call, they call me, we write to one another. That's fine. I know that they're disbelievers. It's a difference. When you say that they are not disbelievers is where you get in trouble. And this is the problem we have. Those in the West, let me add something to this, because I know someone saying, Yahya, you live in Africa now. You've been there almost 16 years, and you're around nothing but Muslims. But I live in Los Angeles, where I work, it's only disbelievers. We're not talking about that, my dear brothers and sisters. We're not talking about that. I lived over in LA. I understand. I lived in the United States. You have to work among the disbelievers. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the cases where you begin to lose your Aqidah, your faith, when you begin to hang around with people at work, even after work. And this is where we're talking about. And then you begin to think, you have doubts in your mind if they're actually disbelievers or not. And you begin to act like them and adapt some of their ways. This is what this nullifier here is talking about. That's why it's so serious. That's why in the United States, our brothers and sisters in Europe, they have to be Canada, they have to be very careful because their religion is under attack. And you have to make sure that you stay strong in your deen. You go to work, you do what you have to do. You go to lunch with a guy that you've been knowing in the job 20 years. I know such a person when I worked and I became a Muslim. He was the first one to greet me warmly when I became a Muslim. I kept my relationship even to this day with him. And it's been now about 23, 24 years. He's not a Muslim. And I've kept my relationship with him. He's never fought me. He always wishes me a nice Ramadan and Eid and so forth. And he would meet me after Jummah. We'll go eat at halal restaurant. And so you can maintain those relationships. I know he's a disbeliever. And I talk to him cordially. We joke about when he's going to come to Islam and so forth and so on. There's no harm in that. So I'm hoping that now, my brothers and sisters, you have a picture of seeing the difference. We as Muslims are not inhuman. We're not ogres. We're not people that go and just hate people. No, but we have to maintain our religion because we've seen what has happened to the Jews and Christians. It's been corrupted. Now, let me say this. The Muslims today are under attack, and their religion is under attack, and they don't know how to fight back. Generally, they don't know how to fight back because they don't have enough in their Aqeedah, their faith, to fight back. They don't have the education a lot. It hurts them. Now, somebody say, well, Yahya, what is the proof that you have here? Well, let's go to Surah 98. Surah 98 is the bayina, means the clear evidence, clear proof is what they're talking about here. If you read on this here, I'll go quickly. Just listen to what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the first one. Those who reject truth among the people of the book and among the polytheists, we're not going to depart from their ways until there should be in the name of Allah come to them clear evidence. The first meaning, again, they had their books. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them prophets to give them guidance on the Sharia, how to be good human beings and how to worship correctly and Tawheed. Secondly, he says, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, a messenger from Allah, rehearsing scriptures kept pure and holy. The prophets came, John the Baptist, Isa, Jesus, alayhi salatu wasalam, John the Baptist, alayhi salatu wasalam, Moses, all the way down the line. They came and they gave the laws. And third, wherein all laws, decrees, right and straight. There was not hard. They told you don't kill, don't do this. They gave you all of the references. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about here. He said, hey, I gave you this. I gave you all of this. Then fourth, nor did the people of the book make schisms until after they came to them clear evidence. Meaning the evidence was given to them and suddenly they began to divert from it. We're talking about the Jews and Christians. If you notice in the Quran, Subhanahu wa ta'ala is hard about them forbidding their books. You know that? You read what he says. He's angry with them for corrupting the books. He gave them the prophets. Then he gave them the kitab, the book. And then what did they do with it? The Christians changed it. There's 140 different versions today. The Jews and the 5th century created the Talmud. And that took them away from the Torah. And they're still gripping with that today. The Muslims, the enemies of Islam today are trying to divide the Muslims in this sense too, by trying to change the Quran and try to change by the modern Muslims try to use them to change the religion by saying, okay, this is the new, like one of these guys said, this is not 7th century anymore. I'm a new Muslim. And he's out there running with women. And I said 3 weeks ago, and I wish I could go to this dear sister and say, please forgive him, my dear sister, for he's erring his ways. But I don't have access to her. And the brother was out here running around with different women. He's on YouTube showing off. In Islam, if he was here in Morocco, they would arrest him for that. They would get him. He's not allowed to do this here in Morocco. They would get him because we have laws for fornication and debauchery, and that's debauchery. He's not with his wife. He's with different women, holding hands, hugging, going to dinner, acting as though they're boyfriend and girlfriend. Is forbidden in Islam. So this type of thing is what we're talking about. And I said to the modern Muslim, the one who says, I'm not living in the 7th century. I'm living in modern times. So he's justifying I have a right to go out my house and go and be with another woman. And if I want to go to Nigeria or Togo and I see a girl, I want to do this with her, I can't. I asked him a question. I said, dear brother, you said this is modern Islam. I said, how about your wife? Can your wife do what you do? When you return from Nigeria or Togo, can your wife come to you and say, hey, you know what, Yahya, guess what? I saw a guy a handsome guy, I saw him in Senegal. I want to go over there and meet him. I wonder what that modern Muslim would say then. He said he's practicing new Islam. He has the right to go and be with these women. I asked a question to him. I said, okay, how about your wife, the dear sister? Can she do what you do? And of course, he frowned. He didn't like it. He says, no. So what kind of modern Islam is this? Islam don't practice that. You see the hypocrisy in it and the danger of it, because our religion protects our dear sisters. And that's why I say here in Morocco, alhamdulillah, he showed himself like that and doing this here in Morocco, he'd been arrested. No ifs, ands, buts about it, they would have got him. He would not be, they would have closed down his programs and it's over. It's over. But he's allowed to do it. I'm not going to get into that in the country he's at. They let him do it, fine, okay. But here in Morocco, No, if he was here, they would have got him. They would have got him and it'd been all over. And he has made declarations in the past too about his relationships with disbelievers. He does not believe them to be disbelievers. He's out. He's gone. He's prostrated. And I have clear proof here. Now, let's go to number 5. Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Jews and the Christians and the others, because they were given clear proof by the prophets. Now, everybody said, whoa, wait a minute. What about the prophet? You're talking about Hindus, Buddha. Many said he was a prophet. And if you read the things Buddha said, Buddha practiced Tawheed. The Hindus perverted that to start to worshiping many gods. Our brother Zaki Naik broke it down beautifully in his classes on the Vedas. He broke it down beautifully. And he explained how Buddha preached Tawheed. It's just that they perverted that. They began to put statues of him and they made him Oriental, which Buddha was not Oriental. He was a black man. Okay, no doubt about it. You can find those type of things in Thailand, because I was there in Thailand, I saw. And he had kinky hair and he was black. But they changed him. Of course, as you start going towards Japan, he became whiter and whiter and his eyes became very, very, Asian-like. And so his features became very, very aquiline. And so the thick nose and the thick lips were gone. Now, Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they have been, this is number 5, verse 5, they have been commanded no more than this, to worship Allah, offering him sincere devotion, being true in faith, to establish regular prayer, to practice regular charity, and that is the religion right and straight. That's what he only asked the Jews and the Christians, Hindus, to do this. It's not hard. Then here we go. Then he says in number 6, now here's the expediation against the Hindus, the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims who have forbade his laws. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says this, those who reject faith among the people of the book and among the polytheists, the Hindus, the Trinity, people who believe in the Trinity, will be in the hellfire, and to dwell therein, they are worse creatures. They are the worst of creatures. That's what he says. This is Subhanahu wa ta'ala said. Why? You listen to what he said in the first 5. He told them, this is what I want. Then they begin to pervert the books. He said they are the worst. They are the worst of the creations because why? They were given the truth and they discarded it. Number 7. Those who have faith and do righteous deeds, they are the best of creation. See, best creatures. You see, first he's talking about the ones who were worse because why? They've obeyed his laws. The Muslimin, the mu'minin, the ones who devoutly believe, who do good works, who try to follow the religion. He said, we are the best. You heard me say this many times. I said that the Muslims are the best of creations. Why? Because we follow Subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have his book and we still preserve. As I said before, I don't make no apologies to nobody. Nobody. I'm not like the modern Muslim that's gone there and when they get around the disbelievers, you don't know if he's Muslim or not. He start to, you see him sweating and he doesn't know how to talk. And he said, well, yeah, this is Islam, but I don't really do this. And I don't say this. This is what he says. This is the Muslim apologetic, the new modern Muslim. No, as anybody know me and you see on these shows, no. I say what it says. And I always say, Innani aqulu ma yaqul. I say what the Quran says and what our prophet says. Innani aqulu ma yaqul. I say what our prophet says. I don't hide behind I'm afraid because somebody who doesn't like Muslims or who's whatever wants me to be a modern Muslim. I reject that. I follow what according to the laws of Subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he's told us to do. I have the proof in front of me here. This is what I follow. I'm not going to apologize. If the disbelievers of those Hindus and Christians, Jews who are mad because they say, well, you too hard, you a terrorist. Have I killed anybody? I haven't done anything. I'm preaching from the book here. So I'm not going to apologize for that. And if they do have to do harm to me, which they do, they're harming the scholars, killing them. We go shaheed. Why? Because we die as Muslims and we follow the law and they kill us because of that. That's the difference, my brothers and sisters. This is why I told you, you see me unequivocally. I love my brothers back in Compton. That's where I was raised, okay? They are my brothers, but not brothers in faith. You see, there's a difference. And I know them to be disbelievers. And so I want to make sure and clear, my brothers and sisters, the clear evidence here. The Surah 98, verses 1-7 give you clear proof, and there are others. I'm just only giving you some. And let me tell you, you said, well, yeah, you didn't say anything. You talked about the consensus of the Muslims. Well, let me tell you about the author of this. Okay, he was mujaddid, meaning he was reformer. Remember, I explained to you how the beauty of our religion in Islam. Subhanahu wa ta'ala said he brings, and our prophet told us that every 100 years he brings a reformer, what we call mujaddid. He is a stickler about the Sharia and the Sunnah because the people start to fall. He comes in and restores it. This is what he did at his time. He came in to restore because they were falling away from the Sunnah, okay, and the Sharia. Muhammad bin Wahab and rahimahullah. He is the father of the people. I don't like to call him this, but you know, please forgive me because we use the Subhanahu wa ta'ala's name in vain in some ways. They call him Wahhabis. I don't call him that. I call him Jamaat bin Wahab. That's what I call them. I refuse to call them Wahhabis because they don't worship him. They follow his way. But there's people mad, and also we have, especially African Americans now in the United States, we have imams too who are going against our dear Mujahid and by telling that he was this and that. They have no business talking about a scholar. None of us are qualified to make takfir on another scholar, especially this one brother there in New Jersey who made takfir on this scholar. He can barely speak Arabic and read the Quran, and he made takfir against a scholar. Remember what I told you in the first? Wajib, uliyah, we supposed to follow? He made takfir against him. It's wrong. And I told him, I wrote to him, and I wrote a long 4-page letter in Arabic telling him his error in his ways, that he must stop making takfir on certain, because the Tubab doesn't like these particular scholars because they brought back the Quran and Sunnah. And he's a follower to me of some Tubab sent over him because he made takfir against these famous scholars. He had no right to do that. None of us, even me, I may disagree with something I read, but I can't say anything. I'm not qualified to go against our sheikh here or some of the sheikh we have. I'm not qualified to do that. I stay away from that. But we have people to do that. And so this is a important part here about this. When the Muslims get into a position, they begin to hang around disbelievers. We have this all over the United States, Europe. And we have even Muslims today as well, who live in countries in West Africa, who come to there, and we do have those who practice traditional religions and Christians and so forth and so on, and atheists. They don't go around any Muslims at all. They leave the United States and they hang around with disbelievers. They don't hang around with the believers. They gave us 3 examples of something that we should understand. And I'm gonna give you these. The detractors, I'm translating this from Arabic to English. The detractors who are against Allah. We have these disbelievers. They are against Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. They're open. And there's one, the brother, he has a close relationship with one beautiful African sister. She's physically beautiful, a very attractive young lady. And she talked against Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. He holds a very close relationship with this one girl. This one so-called Muslim holds a relationship with this one woman who talks against Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and against the heaven and hell. I talked about her weeks ago. He has a very close relationship with her. He's been doing shows with her. That's forbidden. You're out when you do that. Here again, and he or she is against our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, and the ulama, against our scholars. And these people, the mushrikeen, the zindiqeen, the people who do not believe, they believe that their madhab, whatever they believe, is better. and the Muslim begins to think in his mind that these particular doctrines are okay. That is apostasy. Consists, you're gone as a Muslim. If you believe these people here who talk against subhanahu wa ta'ala, who advocate against subhanahu wa ta'ala openly, okay, openly, and you have doubt in them that they are disbelievers, that's apostasy. You're gone. This is what this number 3 is. You're gone. You're out. And also, and they believe also that these people are not really disbelievers, because they believe disbelievers are somebody that are, you know, like the killers of mankind, and you know, like the military and some of the militaries of the Tubak governments who kill. They consider them disbelievers. But the people who are not in that, they don't believe them to be disbelievers. Again, as I said, that's apostasy. You're gone. You're out. And I know some people say, you know, yeah, this is very harsh. It's very harsh because I'm talking about Tawheed, and I'm talking in English about this because our brothers and sisters, especially in the United States, my population, we should be aware of this. So we have the correct religion. I mean, the correct way to practice our religion, Islam. Many of us in the United States are not doing this. I'm giving you this so you can have ammunition to do your research. Don't believe me. Pull the Nwaaqid Islam 10. And you saw the picture. If you saw the heading, I found one in English. You see what it says? There's 10 of them, but I couldn't get all 10 of them in there. But it gave you a number of them telling you would take you out of Islam. And we should talk about that. So that way you'll be armed to protect yourself. Now, the Muslims who also praise the disbelievers, we have to be very careful in that. You praise a disbeliever because he's a good person. That's okay. You praise him because he gives charity and he helps out. He's a doctor. He goes to Africa. He treats our brothers and sisters in Africa, and you praise him for being a good human being. Nothing wrong with that. It's approved, no problem. But when you begin to praise him and his religion, or you begin to praise the way he governs, okay? Now, this guy is a kafir, a ba'is kafir, a wretched kafir who's killing Muslims, and you believe, say, you know what? I like the way he governs this country. You cannot do that. That's apostasy. You see the difference. You have a doctor say, and you see this man, and you know him. You say, Michael, you know, you're a good human being, and you shake his hand. Thank you for going to Ghana to help the brothers and sisters there, to give them medicine and to train new doctors. There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. You can do that. You see the difference, my brothers and sisters. You're approved to do that. You see him giving charity. You see him helping. You praise him for that. There's nothing wrong with that. You praise him to an extent, because even Muslims, you have to be very careful when you praise them. You're limited in about you can do that. So I gave you the instances on how you do this. And then you begin to believe in the second category that they're going to go to heaven. Yes. When you begin to believe that, when you hear them talking TVs on CNN, I'm not making light of this. Somebody just died. You know, they always say he's going to heaven. It's like it's automatic. It doesn't work like that, because even the scriptures tell you it doesn't work like that. Now, you don't go to heaven because you're white, black, or you have a lot of money. That's something you don't play with. You have to fulfill the obligations of your prophet. And they said they follow Prophet Jesus, alayhi salatu wasalam, which they don't follow. They follow what they want. So I have contention with them. They say automatically they're going to heaven because the Bible doesn't tell you that either. And when we know what the Torah says, and we know what the Quran says, you don't get to heaven just because you're a human being and you walk the earth. You have to earn that. But many in America say, you hear them, you know, so-and-so died today, and he's looking down from us in heaven. Sometimes I look at it and I cringe. I say, how you know such a thing? Where you get that information from, that you know he's sitting there already without judgment? without subhanahu wa ta'ala's judgment. Even in the Quran, in the Bible, as corrupted as it is, they still tell you in there that subhanahu wa ta'ala makes judgments. And Jesus, alayhi salatu wasalam, the bayana, the clear proof is what? The Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer. He gave you, and you listen to his words in that. He's given the Christians something to think about. He gave Tawheed, and he gave his announcement, declaration in Tawheed. He didn't say, come worship me. He didn't say that. He said his Lord. But you see the Christians today, they say it's a Trinity. We won't get into that. But I just wanted to give you something about that. And we go further. Our brother begins to doubt about their doctrines. Catholic, Protestant, and say the African traditional religions. He doesn't believe them to be bad. And this one Muslim I know, he doesn't think that, because he goes around the people who practice obeah. He doesn't believe that. He lets them, even on his show, give edicts in their particular religion. He's supposed to be Muslim. He cannot do this. This again is out. You believe that their madhab is nothing wrong with that, and you let them to talk. You're Muslim, you have to stop that. If I'm here on my show and an atheist come and he begin to spout on something, I'm gonna stop him. Because Muslims, we're supposed to. If we get somebody who's African traditional religions and he comes on the show and he starts talking about, well, this is what we do in voodoo, we must stop him. I'm not gonna allow him to do that. I'm not gonna codify and justify that, because we're Muslims. His religion was nullified when the prophet got his prophethood in the 7th century. It's over. And that's why in West Africa, our brothers fought them. All those empires, they fought disbelief. So we have proof of that. Our brothers who were Muslim rulers, Usman Den Fodio, Samari Turi, you look at Omar Dal, the Mahdi, Muhammad Mahdi there in Sudan, all of them fought disbelief. So we do have the proof that our African brothers did fight disbelief. And they made no qualms. It was disbelief, and they fought it. But the modern Muslim, he don't fight that. He lets them talk it, and he kind of sits there and he lets them, and you wonder, and he doesn't think there's nothing wrong with that. Then the governance, the same persons, our brothers and sisters, turn around and say, you know what? I like democracy. My brother and sister who say that, you just made apostasy. You cannot say that, because their governance is kufr, it's shirk. It has nothing to do with the oneness of subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're forbidden from doing that. And if you believe that to be correct, we have thousands and thousands of Muslims today carry signs, democracy. It's apostasy when you do that. Now, I'm going to give you this and we'll close, because this is a very harsh lesson and it may anger some. That's not my purpose. My purpose is only give you proof as a Muslim to stop you from apostasies, because you need to know about the Nawaaqid al-Islam Ashra, because it is your Tawheed's affected when you do certain things. I will go through each one of these. I'm on number 3 now. Inshallah ta'ala, I will do number 4. And if you read those things, they are, those who have done the research, you read it, there are serious conditions there. And you have to pay attention. Now, what are the symptoms you as a Muslim? You are strong in your faith, but you notice something about Yahya over there. You're starting to see things about Yahya that's not right. And you're trying to figure what's going on with him. He stopped to go around the brothers. You see him now hanging around mostly with disbelievers. The symptoms of a Muslim who starts to hang around with the disbelievers, and he forbids the believers. One of the things, the symptoms you can start watching, is that he begins to follow and begins to have desires for the worldly life over that of the akhirah. That's one. When you see our brother doing this, when you see him not used to hear him, you saw him making dhikr, you saw him praying in the masjid a lot, suddenly the things, he stopped praying in the masjid. You don't see him and you don't hear him making dhikr anymore. then you know there's something wrong. He's starting to hang around the disbelievers, and now he starts talking about the things in the dunya. He even wants to get a loan under riba, which is forbidden, so he can buy more property or something under interest, which would forbidden. That's one of the symptoms. Second is that you go to praise, again, as I talked earlier, you start to notice that they're praising a lot of the disbelievers, praising him a lot. You begin to notice something's not right. You know now he's starting to move to apostasy because he begins to praise the kuffar a lot. You'll see this today when there's an argument between Muslims. They'll go run to France, or they'll go run to Sweden, or they'll run to the United States to have a disbeliever to mediate between two Muslim brothers. This is when you know there's something wrong. That's a symptom that you know there's something wrong. They're making apostasy. When you see that, when they leave the Sharia and they then they get on TV and start to praise this disbeliever who's killing Muslims. Oh, the so-and-so of France, the so-and-so of Germany, so-and-so of Sweden, and you begin to praise them and their governance. That's apostasy. Under this doctrine, number 3 of Nawaaqid al-Islam Ashra, number 3, this is considered apostasy and is consensus of all the Muslim scholars for many centuries. It's apostasy. Number 4, when you begin to seek the aid and help from the disbelievers over the believers. We see that today. You know this is a symptom that he's moving towards apostasy because he's starting to leave the Sharia, and you start to see he starts to seek the help. When our brother's with us and there's something going on, he doesn't come to us to talk. He goes to a disbeliever. He goes to a Catholic person who makes a decision under Islamic law against me or another brother that our brothers he's in dispute with. You know now he's starting to move towards apostasy. Okay, that's number 4. Number 5, he believes that the doctrine of the Catholic, the Protestant, the person practicing voodoo or obia or orissa or ifa or any of those, that method, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not misguided. Now you know this person is moving towards apostasy. Because when you go to him and say, hey, yeah, I've been seeing you over here with these guys here practicing voodoo and stuff. What's happening? What's going on? Oh, yeah, man, I like to go over there and sit there with them, so forth and so on. And I watch them when they make their rituals. He's moving towards apostasy. Because now he's starting to codify what they do. As Muslims, we cannot. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear in the Quran, those other religions have been abrogated and they are from evil. That's what he said. You can go to Surah Nisa for that. He talks that and he says that you do not use their governance into making decisions about anything with Muslims. The Muslims go to the Sharia to make their decisions, and that's it. They don't go to disbelievers. Number 6, when the Muslim goes to, you start noticing Yahya, you've been watching him. Suddenly he goes to a lot of meetings. The friends. They meet at somebody's house. They go there to drink beer. Friday night, they're watching basketball, and they smoke their cigarettes, even reefer or marijuana. He's there, and they order pork sandwiches, hot dogs, and so forth and so on. He's there with them. Now the adhan is sounded off. He knows by his clock it's time for him to pray. He doesn't pray. He's moving close towards apostasy. These are some of the conditions here. You start to notice. I'm giving you ammunition. You start to notice when you see this. He goes to the meetings with disbelievers. When it's time to pray, he don't pray. Now you notice. Now there's conditions we understand. There's some things that happen that you cannot. And we have disputes about if we can make those prayers up, meaning can we combine prayers? You have to be traveling. That's a different situation. If you're traveling and you're going to meet friends like from Compton or something, say I'm traveling from Morocco to back to Compton. We have a right, we have laws about this where we can combine prayers. And say I've combined my Maghrib prayer, the first evening prayer with my late prayer, you can do that. And I'm with my friends who I grew up with, and now it's 9 o'clock. And maybe Isha, it's time. I've already prayed that. I've approved that because I made the travel a prayer of travel, meaning subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us approval. Our prophet gives us approval. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the people who live in that city and they go to meetings with their friends to drink beer, to watch basketball and smoke dope and go eat hot dogs. And they don't pray. You cannot combine your prayer. You cannot do that. That is forbidden for them to do that. Now, you can make the prayers up. You can make them up. But then again, that's even suspected. But you know that the condition that something's not right with our brother. Because you're sitting there watching and you're thinking about coming to Islam. You see Yahya. You say, I'm watching him because I'm thinking about coming to Islam. And you watch. And it's time for him to pray. He doesn't pray. That's a condition that he's going towards apostasy. 7, he believes that the mushrikeen and the Muslim are the same. Both are going to Jannah. Now he's towards apostasy because subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear in the Quran that the person who's a mushrik, who does not believe in subhanahu wa ta'ala, I just gave it to you, you're going to the hellfire. He said this, unless you follow the prophet that your books have told you. That book, if you're Hindu, the Vedas tells you to what? Follow the prophet. Prophet Muhammad, it's in there. The Christian, the New Testament talks about the one who's coming, okay? And named him Ahmed. And even in Song of Solomon in the Old Testament, they talk about this. You're ordered to follow the new prophet. You didn't. The Jews, their scholars gave written instructions and told you are to follow the new prophet, even though he's among the Arabs. And they found that he was true. He was the new prophet. They didn't do it. You see? So they are in violation of that. They are not on even footing. You heard what subhanahu wa ta'ala said. I gave clear guidance to them, to the people of the book, the Jews and Christians and so forth, and the Hindus. The Hindus are not among us because the 3 sister religions, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, we're very close. That's a brotherhood because we're very close. The Hindus are not, they're over here, but they do have their books. And so subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear. We're not on the same footing, but our brother Yahya is starting to believe that the Muslim and the disbeliever, who's forbade his books, are on the same equal plane. They're both going to heaven without any judgment. That's apostasy. He's close. He's very close now. Number 8. As I said before, when you hear a brother say, and he hears the Christians talking in front of him, that so-and-so is going to heaven. And you know him to be a drug dealer, but he goes to church now and then, but he's a drug dealer. And then you turn right back around and you concur with your Christian brother who says, I know Yahya, even though he was a gangster, even though he's a Crip and blood, even though he just killed a bunch of people last week, but because he's a Christian, he's going to go to heaven. That type of thing, my brothers and sisters, is act close to apostasy. So I gave you those 8 conditions to show you the symptoms of the Muslim who is now going towards apostasy. And again, now he is starting to do as it says here in this Nawaaqid. And you remember what was said, what the scholars have said, whoever does not declare the polytheists to be infidels or doubts their unbelief, their doctrines to be correct, he is a kafir. I gave you all of these. When you start those symptoms, you start hearing things, you start seeing them, they start making comments, this particular nullifier makes them out. When you know our brothers who are involved in this, please go to them. Arm yourself, my brothers and sisters. Learn about the Nawaaqid, because you can't follow Tawheed without knowing the 10 disqualifiers. You have to learn those 10 disqualifiers. You got to, my brothers and sisters, because you can't just go about in your religion and you don't know what can take you out. You only know what would take you in. I'm going to go over them again because it's a serious matter, and then I will close. I will name them off again because it's a serious, serious, serious matter. Okay, and of course I'm going to do this in English. Okay, how do I do this here? You know, when it gets to computers, my brothers and sisters, I'm a dunce. Okay, here we go. I'll give you the 10 nullifiers again. So my brothers and sisters, I want you to ponder them very well. The first one, shirk in the worship of Allah. Remember, I talked about that last week. Shirk, meaning signing the partners. Second, setting up intermediaries with the person and subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, I talked about our ancestors. And we, African Americans, we have to be very careful because now we started to discover who our ancestors are. We're starting to have DNA proof. We're starting to find out we had ancestors in Ghana, Togo, Gambia, Guinea, Conakry, and Guinea-Bissau, and Burkina Faso, and places like this. We're starting to find our ancestors in those places. We don't go to them in time when you go to the grave to find ancestors and use them as say, hey, Papa Yahya, please intercede for me. I need you to help me to whatever the situation be. You cannot do that. Number 3, we talked about that today. Believing that mushrikeen are not disbelievers. I gave you the lesson on that. That's the third one. Number 4, the belief that guidance by someone other than the Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam, is better than that ruling by other than the rule of Muhammad is better. Now, that's 4. Again, I will cover this, inshallah ta'ala, sometime this week. If you want to follow this with me, I'm going to give these lessons. And as I say, my brothers and sisters, I'm giving this because I want our brothers. I'm not here to anger anybody. I'm going to give you what is correct in our religion. I'm not like the others. I won't sugarcoat and talk about modern times. I won't do that because we have too many of our brothers and sisters, especially in the United States, who are involved in many of these nullifiers, and they don't know it. And many of them don't know that they're doing this. And I know that since I began to reach out to our brothers and sisters back in the United States, I began to find out things about, because I was far removed from them for many years. And then suddenly I began to start to notice things that they were doing. So I took to the YouTube. Why? To educate our brothers and sisters, to bring them in the fold. And not only that, me living in the Arab world, okay, as I do, I know what they say about us, okay, many of them. And they always talked about, especially the African Americans there in the United States. We know that. The Muslims can contend to that. And they always have something to say about us. They can't speak Arabic. They don't learn their religion. They can't pray right. They don't understand the Aqeedah. This is what they say, even in the United States and outside the United States. I'm an African. That hurt me when I hear that. And when I see it, I ask subhanahu wa ta'ala permission. Can I do this? I asked, can I do this? I even asked scholar friends of mine. And then he said, yes, yeah, go ahead, because you can speak Arabic and English. You understand the religion very well. You teach it. So this is what I'm doing. I'm not here to anger anybody. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything either. I'm here to give you exactly what we're supposed to do as Muslims. Those who don't like that, they say, look, you know what? I see another program over here. I like this over here. It's modern. I'm not stopping you. Those, I may not be able to reach anybody. If I reach one person, as I said before, I'm happy. Alhamdulillah. That's all I want. And I please subhanahu wa ta'ala. My life now, I'm an older man now. My life is Islam. That is it. Islam. I work for Islam, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work for Islam. And I'm going to give the good, and I will give the bad. As you heard me talk about demonstrations, you heard me talk about the mujahideen who are killing. If they're wrong, I'm going to talk. I don't care what race they are or what color, even if they're from my community, they're African Americans, Africans born in America, I'm going to talk as I'm talking now, because many of them are in violation of this. Now, okay, here. Yeah, number 5, hating anything of the prophet's message despite practicing. Remember, I talked about our brother who said he would not practice the makram rule. He's going to forbade that. That's what he's talking about. That's number 5. Number 6, mocking or ridiculing any part of Islam. You don't hear that much on Muslims, as I said before. They don't openly mock the religion, but some do in private. Number 7, this is the one that is something. This is dealing with sorcery. We had this, I told you last week, I will cover this. This affects our African brothers a lot. The Arabs, especially, they practice, a lot of them practice sorcery, and it takes you out of Islam. Number 8, we'll get to that. I told you about it, asterisk, supporting and assisting the disbelievers, the mushrikeen, the polytheists against the Muslims. This takes you out. Number 9, believing that it is permitted for some people to be free of implementing the Sharia of Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam. Again, I hear our brothers, even others in the United States and Europe, say, hey, man, I don't live in a Muslim country. I don't have to follow the Sharia of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. Here, that takes you out of Islam. If you didn't know, if you're corrected and you still say that, it's apostasy. You're gone. And number 10 is one that I always talk to my brothers and sisters, especially my community inside the United States. Turning away from subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion and not learning it or implementing it. And I've angered many Africans born in America because I talk about this. I plead with them, please learn the Quran and learn it in its original text. Learn the hadiths. Get under. We have beautiful African American scholars there in the United States. We have them. They're there. You have to ask subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you. He will guide you to one. I know some. You want some names of some ones? I give you. They even have some. Their shows on YouTube. They even have old classes, 9, 10. They're still good, and you can learn your religion from them. These are strong brothers. These are strong African Americans. They went to school in Azhar in Egypt. Some went to Sudan. Others went to Saudi Arabia. We got some beautiful brothers there, and they're smart as a whip. When it gets to Islam, they can speak Arabic and they know the Quran and Sunnah very well. They have a good command of English, so you can understand them very well. So you have to learn that. This here, subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like when you turn your back. When you go and say, like I heard this one sister argue with me one day when I had an argument, one of the imams here in the United States, the way he was talking to his people there. And the sister told me, she said, look, you over there in Africa, we're here in America. You ain't one of us anymore, she said to me. You're not one of us. She basically said, I apostated as a black man. I said to her, my sister, what are you talking about? I'm in Africa. How can I be now Uncle Tom or a down the river Negro? That's what she tried to apply. And the imam and her, and there were some other brothers who were getting on after me. And they begin to tell me to look, you over there now, you are Arab now. You're not black anymore. Okay, this is a conversation I had. And yet still, when I asked them, I said, well, my brothers and sisters, what are you guys doing about learning about about Salat? They said, no, I just go to the masjid, I pray. I said, what about wudu? They didn't know they could not even perform wudu correctly. I learned. When I began to ask questions, even the sister didn't even know. You see what I'm talking about? And then I began to ask them questions. And I asked the brothers who were fighting me. Everything calmed down. I said, look, let me ask you. So we got offline. I began to ask them a question. I said, well, when you go to the masjid, what happens? When you see the imam and they're in the second raka'ah and you come in, what are you supposed to do? They didn't know because they were not taught that. This is what I'm talking about. Our dear sister, I asked her, and please, I'm not trying to be bad or morbid. I asked her when she has her cycle. I said, what do you do when you have your cycle? Are you praying? What are you doing? I said, how about after your cycle? And say you have some discharges. What do you do about that? She didn't know. This is what I'm talking about. She did not know. She did not understand that. But yet instead, she still wanted to call me an apostated African. That's what she wanted to call me because she said, since I've left Compton and United States, I'm no longer African American in her eyes. And yet still she says she's a Muslimah, but she couldn't even tell you about some of the things I just said there about wudu for a woman, because a woman has special needs. We know that. She couldn't even tell that. And apparently she's been making mistakes after mistakes. And yet this is what this here. This is an act of apostasy when you don't do the things and learn your religion. So my dear brothers and sisters, I talked a little long today about this particular one, the nullifier number 3, but it's an important issue. It's harsh. It's very harsh. And if you listen to some of the ones talking about this in Arabic, some of the famous scholars in Arabic, they're even more harsh than I am. And they're speaking it and they're talking. I'm giving you this in English so you can learn and discern and go from there. I'm not here to anger anybody. If it angers you, that means I'm getting to you. That means you go either one way. I anger you. You say, I'm mad at you. I don't like what he said today. I'm mad with him. Okay, fine. Which way are you going to go? Are you going to go now study what I just said? Or are you going to go further in disbelief? That's what I'm trying to do here. The brothers and sisters who are going to get mad with me and say, you know what? I'm going to go study what Yahya talked about. That's what I want. Please. I want you to be mad with me. Fine. But if you go hit the books, I'm happy. Or are you going to say, okay, you see, I don't like this. I think I'm going to just not practice Islam. I'll practice 1 time, 2 times per week. And then after that, I won't do it. If that's what you want to do. Okay. But I want to reach our brothers and sisters. I made them mad today because they may be doing some of this. And they say, you know what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to hit the books. Alhamdulillah. Shukran lillah. I'm happy that you would do this. This is my goal. And I want to reach my community. And I want to give you something here. And as a side note, and I'll close here. You know, our brothers and sisters, I was talking to you about the DNA. Beautiful. The technology. Beautiful. And you know, I got some, my sister, she just recently had her DNA completed and so forth. And, I got some mixtures in me. I laugh because I learned some. And I found one of my dear sisters, cousins, and she's originally from the Senegambia region. And me and her confer just almost every day. It's like I've been knowing my dear cousin now for so many years. And she's a good Muslimah. And so anyway, I learned today that I have East Indian Pakistani blood. I mean, I'm laughing because excuse me. I know I hear many say they thought I was from Pakistan. But anyway, I learned that I have some of this blood in me, and it's good. And I also want to take time. I found an elder that's, still living. He looks like, I told you, like my dear father. I got to pay respects to my dear father, Baba, we say in Africa, out of respect. This is what our elders, we say Baba, and I have to show him respect. And Baba Debo, I have to show my respect to him because he is the remaining, he's the elder. And so I have to give him my respect and my love. And so I wanted to give you that. Now I found out I have his blood, and I'm happy for that, to know that. And he is a strong Muslim. Alhamdulillah, I have this in my family tree. So I just wanted to give you that short note. And I'm smiling because I'm very happy. I begin to find some of my family now, and I'm so pleased to know this. And that some of my family are strong Muslims. Alhamdulillah wa rabbil alameen. Okay, my dear brothers, thank you, and sisters, thank you for showing up today, and those in the future. Isaac, as always, dear brother, Assalamu alaikum. And I'll leave you here with the beautiful words of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.